just absolutely wild result. It looks so good. Hey guys, Sydney here, and I am in my shop today, and I have a little situation that I wanted to have you guys walk along with me. A lot of times we get the questions, how do you choose a product and a pad? That's a very hard thing to explain unless you're actually doing it. So I'm gonna kind of show you my steps of determining what is my best correction method. First things first, we are going to grab our inspection light. When I look at this, there's lots of swirling, scratching, pretty light scratches, but on Porsche paint, that can be the death of you. In my career, I've probably done 10 to 12 black Porsches, and Porsche paint is one of the least fun paints to work on. It's very hard, but also very soft, meaning towels will scratch it, but it's a very hard paint to kind of get those scratches to come out. We're gonna kind of look this over. I have already measured the paint. It measures about a 3.4 on the paint depth gauge. So that also gives me an idea of how hard I can go at it. So first things first, I wanna show you how I'm gonna do test spots with my pads and determine what's gonna be my best method. So to do that, I'm gonna pick a panel. I've chosen this rear quarter panel. Pretty much the whole car looked like this. And I'm gonna tape off the sections so that we can kind of really see the difference between each pad and determine what's gonna be our best method. So I do know that I'm going to choose one compound to use, which I'm gonna choose Rehab. And the reason that I'm gonna choose that is because this customer is paying for a one-step. So I wanna see what the limits I can push this one-step product to. And since this is a product that is so adaptable to which pad you choose, whether you're choosing a wool all the way to a fine finishing foam, that is what's going to adjust the cut level of that compound. So rather than making it really difficult for myself and spending a bunch of extra time trying to figure out compounds and polishes, I'm going to start with Rehab, but I'm going to adjust my pad. Okay, so now I've got it all taped up. So now I'm gonna really look at each panel, because what the goal is maybe to identify some of the deeper scratches, that's gonna kind of be like my guide for how far we're getting. So, the whole panel is definitely covered in, car wash marring, scratching. There's definitely a haze. So even though the vehicle looks very black and shiny, when you get the light up close, you definitely see like that gray, cloudy hazing, which is what kind of keeps a paint's brightness at bay. So we're gonna hope to find, so down here we've got some pretty good vertical scratches. So that's gonna be kind of a point for me to tell how good we're doing. And then over here, just a lot of hazing and circular marring. I'm choosing 3 pads. Let's get started on that. Today I'm gonna use just a DA, a Rupes DA, and I'm gonna start lightest to heaviest. And the reason that I'm gonna do this is because I really wanna know on that lightest level what kind of correction I'm gonna get out. So we're gonna use the yellow edge guard pad for this. This is a polishing pad, so not necessarily a cutting pad. And so this also, starting with 3, this is kind of gonna tell me I'm using a polishing pad, I'm using a cutting pad, and I'm using a wool microfiber blend. So where this is getting you, this will help you tweak it in, where if this is too hard and it's leaving behind marring, but I'm getting the cut that I want, I may be able to step down my polishing pad. Same thing on the cutting pad. If you're getting the cut you want, but it's leaving behind marring, you can adjust what cutting pad you're using. So this is gonna tell me what level of pad I wanna use, and then if I need to adjust from there. So we're gonna start with the yellow, which is just kind of a fine polishing pad. The yellow pad is typically a good one-step. So now we're gonna do the yellow section first, and then we'll wipe this off and we'll keep moving on down the road. When doing your test spots, one thing that I want to point out is it's good, you want to use the same number of passes that you do on each one. Now, obviously, if this turns out good, but it needs a little bit more, like, all know that it could use a couple more passes, but you want to be consistent. So I usually start at 4 passes. So you want to be consistent with your pads on that so that you know really what result you're getting. All right, so now we are going to wipe this off. All right, so not terrible. Let's grab our light. Okay, so here's why you need an inspection light, is just wiping that off, to my eyes, it looked pretty good. And I was kind of like, oh, that's actually pretty good. So what we see from this is a lot of hazing, which was probably caused by the pad. But when I look through the hazing, it might be hard to pick up on camera, but when I look through the hazing, what I'm looking for is how much of the defect removal happened. So can I still see those, you know, the light marring and scratches? It looks like it did a pretty good job, but now we're gonna step it up and see if we don't get a little bit more with the next one. All right, so we will step this up to the burgundy cutting pad using the same compound that we did, the rehab. And now we're gonna do a different section, and then at the end, we're gonna come back and look at them, and then we're gonna talk about what our next steps are there. All right, so we've got our 4 passes. We're gonna wipe this off and see how this one did. Because it is a cutting pad, we can actually see more marring from the pad, which tells us it definitely is gonna leave behind a mark because we're using a cutting pad. Now I will say on a lot of paint, this pad is great and it will do a fantastic one step. But again, every paint system's different. I know from experience that Porsche paint's very finicky. So this is gonna be one that we have to dial in a little bit more. Whereas some newer vehicles and things like that, we know which pad, which combo we're gonna use, and there's no question. This one is gonna be a question. So this is where we need to take the extra time to figure out what we're gonna do. So this one, when we turn the light on, much more marring. However, much more defect removal. So when looking down into it, I can see that a lot more of the swirls and scratches are missing versus the first one, but it definitely left behind a haze. So we got that. All right, so now I'm gonna switch to the, what I call the Oreo pad, but this is the Buff and Shine Eurofiber, which is a microfiber wool blend. So this is going to have great cutting, but also great finishing. So it kind of uses the 2 materials to be a really good cutting pad, but it is considered a cutting pad. So we're gonna do this right here. Now, I'm gonna take a wild guess and I'm gonna expect that this is gonna turn very hazy. But what I'm hoping for, because even on the yellow, I'm getting a haze, that's kind of gonna clue into me that this might be a situation where I'm gonna be better off doing a few passes cutting and a few passes with a finishing polish, and that's gonna save me time over fussing to try to get a one step done. So it's still gonna take me probably less time to just be realistic about it. And so what I'm looking for is obviously the most defect removal. And so can I do a lot of defect removal and do a quick pass with a finished polish at the end to get a good result? Or do I fuss with the one step trying to make it finish down, but maybe not get as much defect out? So this section here, which we saw was pretty rough. We'll wipe this off. Now, here is one thing too. Part of the reason why I'm choosing this liquid that I am is because I know that it's super easy to wipe off. So this is also going to cut down on my towel marks, which can be very frustrating as well. All right, now this one really left behind some marring. So let's check our light here. Yeah, so this one left behind quite a bit of haze. However, it does a lot more defect removal. So let's take our tape off and I'm gonna have you guys look at where we are with just our step 1. And then I'm gonna show you what happens if we do a final step on this, just real quick and easy over it, what our results are, and would that be the better option? Now we just have to decide, are we happy with the one step, or do we want to see if we can get more defect removal and use a fine polish to clear out all this haziness caused by our pad choice? But this still may be the better option, is to do a couple quick passes with a cutting pad, going back over with a polish. This could still be faster than trying to accomplish a one step. So I have a feeling that's what's gonna happen on this, that it's gonna be better for me to cut it and polish it real quick and easy. So the nice part is we're gonna use therapy today, which is the final polish to rehab. So let's try that. So I'm gonna switch to a white finishing foam. So there's a couple different finishing foams that you can choose from. I'm gonna go with white just because it's kind of the mid one. So the black would be the softest foam, but I think I still want a little bit of bite to make sure that I get all of this haziness off of here. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do this section and then we're gonna turn the light on and look at it. And the reason why I may not go over every section with the therapy is because if I'm getting the most defect removal out of this and I can clean this up pretty easy, that tells me right there, that's my best option. So we are gonna put a couple dots of therapy on here. As we can tell from each panel to panel, it got worse with the hazing. But what I know now, even starting with a fine polishing pad, is we're still gonna get hazing. So this looks really tragic, but knowing that this is gonna be able to clean up easy with therapy, and I'm gonna show you guys that, I still think that, you know, if you get comfortable doing your test spots and you know how the products are gonna react together, this is still gonna help you decide, do you wanna do 2 steps or do you wanna just try to do 1? You know, what is your expectation level at the end? So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna polish the therapy over this. I'm gonna show you, I'm only gonna do 2 or 3 quick passes. So for a car this size, I may only be adding, you know, 15, 20 minutes to my total paint correction versus trying to struggle getting it done in 1 step. So we're gonna polish over this real quick and see what we get. All right, and again, because this polish is gonna be so easy to wipe off, we're not gonna reintroduce towel marring. So now we're just gonna wipe this off and see where we are at. It looks so good. So this is where I, as the detailer, have to decide, would I rather just do a 2-step, but offering a 1-step price to get to this level of correction? And like I mentioned, I've done so many black Porsches before. Finding out this combination is so much better than the other stuff that I have been, you know, frustrated with, that if you take the time to find your right combination, what is gonna make you more efficient with your time, that's what's most important. So let's turn the light on and see how we did here, keeping in mind that we did not use a paint prep yet. Oh my gosh. So absolutely beautiful. No marring, no hazing. It looks so good. The light. So one thing you're looking from your inspection light is what happens to the clarity of where the light's actually hitting the panel. And I mean, it's crystal clear. And there's none of those defects left. So what I know now is that that's gonna be the combo that I wanna use. Now, if I were to go back over either one of these panels with the therapy, it's gonna turn out great. But I'm still gonna have some of those deeper car wash scratches that are still gonna be left. In this case where I'm coating the car, I'm okay with using a little bit more aggressive of a pad. So I wanna get rid of all of those scratches and I wanna lock in that paint correction. So this is the combo that we're gonna use. Now that we have determined which pad and polish combo I'm gonna use, so I'm gonna use the Eurofiber with rehab, and then I'm gonna follow up with a quick kind of what I call buzzing it with therapy and a white pad. Now 9.8 times out of 10, I am choosing 1 pad and 1 polish for a 1-step. This is kind of a unique situation where I found through my testing that it was gonna be better for me to do a 2-step process. But I will say, generally speaking, try to stick to a 1-step when that is the job that you're trying to do, is do a 1-step. So generally, you're not gonna get the hazing from the foam pads. It's just this type of paint. But this is why we go through the testing process rather than just sending it with, you know, we might hear that like the blueberry is a great 1-step pad, and it is, but it's not gonna work perfect on every paint system. So this is where you wanna do your testing, determine what is going to fit your needs and what the expectation is best at the end. We have to ask ourselves at the beginning, what type of paint are we working on? What's the manufacturer? Is it hard paint, soft paint? How old is the paint? How thick is the paint? All of those are factors, because if you have a paint thickness gauge and it's very low, you know that you can't necessarily go ham on that section, right? So you have to be responsible in that way. But we also want to gauge the expectation. Are we doing it for ourselves on our own vehicle? Are you doing it for a customer that you're charging money? And what is the customer paying for and what is their expectation level? So this process helps get us to our end result. Now that we have figured this out, I am glad that you guys are here with me today, because this again is just a real world scenario. Not everything's gonna go the way as planned. So we are going to remove the tape, and then I'm gonna finish out the panel for you and we'll come back and see the final result. All right, so you guys can see that our results were wild. Now, I do want to mention again that obviously I used a paint depth gauge. We were about 3.4 mils thickness back here. And so there is some very, very minor defects still remaining that no one will ever be able to see unless we are using our scan grip light. But given the thickness of this and the aggressiveness of pad that we used, I'm super, super comfortable with this. I think that I did as much as I could and got the most defects out and had a just absolutely wild result. It looks so good. For my final steps here today, I'm just going to wipe the entire vehicle down with paint prep, which will remove any residual compound or polish. And it's just gonna give us our final prep for the coating, which I'm gonna put a 5-year coating on here. I'm gonna put PNS Stout on it just to lock in that correction and make sure that these scratches and marring don't come back, and we don't need to do that to this paint again. So I hope this helped you guys learn a little bit more about pad selection and how to kind of tackle test spots. And for more tips and tricks like this one, stay tuned right here at the Rag Company YouTube channel.